Hello everybody, welcome to the first part of this series. Today we're going to be modeling a Glock, and this will be our first weapon in our game. And the model is going to consist of around 6 parts: the lower body, the magazine, the trigger guard and the trigger, the slide, the iron sights, and the little barrel sticking out of the end. So let's get into it. Before we start modeling our gun, let's go over some tools that we're going to use today. First one being view selection. So to navigate between views, use your middle mouse button. And you just click anywhere, and then you click anywhere in the other selections. And this is how you'll navigate around your views. The next tool we're going to be using is the knife tool. The knife tool is going to help us create sections so that we can model, and we are going to be using the loop mode on the knife tool. And as you can see, now we can move certain parts of this cube around. The next tool we're going to be using is the Extrude Tool. The way we're going to be using this is by selecting our faces and holding Control and then dragging in the direction we want to go. And this is going to be handy when we need to make more parts of the same cube so that we can continue to model our gun. The last tool that we'll be using is called the bridge tool, and what the bridge tool does is exactly what you think it does. It will bridge certain edges so that when we need to delete parts of our object to create indents, we can fill them back in later. Okay, first thing we want to do is look up an image of the gun you want to model. I will be modeling a Glock, so we're going to go to the images. What we're looking for is something like this, where it's top down basically, and we also have the shell ejector so we can reference that and model that easy. So this is perfect, almost. Alright, now that we have Cinema 4D open, we're going to middle mouse button click to get into our different views. And in this case, we are going to be modeling the right because we want the gun to shoot this way, and that is the way our bullets will be shooting in the game. So we want to go to import our picture, we're going to go to configure, which is in options, configure, and make sure it's on the viewport that you are currently on, which would be right, and choose back, which is basically the background, and choose your image. So we open our image. It's a little small. I'm just going to make it bigger because I can. But we want to offset our X and Y so that the gun is somewhat level. Now, after that, we create a cube. And this cube is going to turn into our handle. So we are going to go and we're going to scale this up and rotate it. We're just going to get the general shape of the handle here. And now we're going to go into our 3D view. And as you can see, it's way too freaking wide. So it's just a little bit too wide. So we're going to make it edible first by pressing C, and then we can scale it in, make it a little skinnier. Alright. Now our cube is editable, so that means we can go over to our point selection, and now we can select all of these points. So we want to go to our live selection tool in here, and we want to uncheck only select visible elements, because if we do that we will only be moving one corner at a time instead of both of them like I am right now. So right now we're going to basically get a more accurate alignment of the handle. Alright, so now we have very rough modeled handle, and we want to get some of these curves at least, because our gun is low poly but not that low poly. So we want to select our knife tool, right click and select knife, make sure the mode is on loop, which will look like this, and now we can cut at places where we want to move points to better shape the handle. So I'll cut it like that, and now as you can see they are all basically hinges. We can move, and we're gonna make a more accurate representation of this handle. And as you can see right here, it kind of goes down. So what I'm gonna do for that is make a vertical slice here, and then I can select this and move it down. You don't want to overlap it at all like this, because as you can see it creates these ugly black artifacts, and you do not want that. Totally mess up your model. Alright, so now our handle is looking better, but this gun will be separated into two main parts, which will be the body. That will include the whole lower part and the trigger guard, the trigger, and the slide will be another part, so we can animate it and make the slide move when we are animating our shooting. To give us more slack on this cube, so we can stretch it all the way out here and model the whole bottom half of the gun. Right here right now we can just turn off we can turn on, only select visible elements, so we can select only this face, hold control, and then extrude it upwards. Now we go back to our right view, and we have more points to work with here. So this, we gotta turn back on, or back off our only select visible elements. We'll go back to our 3D mode and select the face and only select visible elements. Select the face, hold control and drag it out, so we have another part that's coming out here. Alright, so now we have the bottom half of our gun modeled. So let's start working on the top. We'll create a cube, drag it up here, and we'll place it at the back, I guess. Make it around the same make it edible, scale it, select our object tool, scale it, make it about around the same or a little more, a little wider than our bottom half. Put it down a little bit, rotate it a hair down more, and we want to have that gap because that's what real guns have, and make it a little bit wider. Yep. Okay, now we scale it out here, and we're gonna do this in our right view. Alright. Now we are going to cut out this right here. And the way we're going to do that is with the knife tool. And we're going to make 2 indentations there. Actually, we're going to make 3. We need the width and the height. So now that we have this, we can select the face tool, live selection, only select visible elements, hold control and move this inwards around there. And as you can see, we got this crap here, so what we're gonna do is go into our top view, delete both of those, and then we're going to rebridge it with the bridge tool. So right click and select bridge, select your edges tool and click and hold and bridge the gap. So now we have our shell ejector. To make this edge a little more rounded, not super sharp, I'm going to use the knife tool. So I can just move this in a little bit. For the little piece of the barrel sticking out, we are going to use the tube, a tube object. We're going to rotate it exactly 90 degrees, hold shift to snap it, and we're going to scale. Before we do that, we're going to change the rotation segments to 8 because it's low poly, and we need to make the hole in the middle bigger. So the way to do that is by going into our front view, and we're going to select, and we're going to make it edible now. So press C and live selection tool. Make sure only select visible elements is on, and we're going to select the first set. I found that there are 2 sets on each side, so it makes it a little hard, but there's a way. There's probably an easier way to do this too, but this is just the way I do it. Select all the first set and scale it up to around barrel size. So when this is smaller, it should look around the size of a barrel. And now you can see that we have this, and this is not the other end of the gun yet. This is the same end of the gun. So we're going to select this now, and we're also going to scale it and make it the same, almost the same scale as the other one. Now we're going to select the next set, which is the second back set, and we're going to scale it up to the same size, and same thing, the last set. And now you can see we have a barrel type thing. And we need to make it longer, so we're going to use our rectangle selection tool, make sure only select visible elements is off, and we're going to select all of this side and move it out and make it long. Now we're Control R to select all and scale it down to fit the size of the gun. A little smaller. We can go into our view here. Doesn't have to be perfect. But now we have a little end of the gun sticking out. The barrel, I mean. So let's make a new cube. Bring it up to around where the start of the trigger guard is. And the trigger guard is going to be smaller than the bottom part of the gun, but not too small. But not as small as the trigger. Probably smaller than that. Alright, so best way I found to do this is by using the Extrude Tool a lot. So we're going to make this cube editable. Before we select anything, make sure only select visible elements is off. And we're going to make the first part here. Use the knife tool to create the roundness of it. Now we're going to use our Extrude tool. So go to the face tool. Only select visible elements on and extrude that out and down. Now I can cut this up. Now we're going to use our Extrude tool again. And this time we're just going to make it super long. And cut it up, so... Oh, remember to deselect. Cut it up. And we got our trigger guard done. I just noticed that this is pretty sharp, so actually we're gonna leave it like that. Actually, no, we aren't. That's stupid. Okay, select your knife tool, select this original cube, and let's make a... Alright, let's make the trigger. And we'll make it editable. Select the object tool. And we'll make it skinnier to about the size we want the trigger to be. That looks pretty good. Okay. And now we got our trigger. That is a little too wide, I think, though. So select our object tool and scale that down a little. Alright, let's do our clip now. So for the clip, we'll create a cube, and we will rotate this cube to about the same rotation that the handle has. We're going to make it smaller than the handle. Let's make it editable and go into our front or top view. Yeah, let's go into our top view, and we can see the width of the magazine and the width of the actual gun. So the magazine is going to be smaller, of course. We'll make it a little smaller, and that's good. Okay, let's drag our clip so we can look at it. Okay, let's make the bottom part of the clip, so another cube, and this cube will be pretty much the same width of the gun. I'll make it a little bit wider. Make it editable. And then we can create a null on this object and assign both parts of the clip to the null. And now we can look at our clip, and that looks great. Good enough. Okay, let's put it back. Control Z. Now let's create the iron sights. So let's get a cube. Move this cube up here with a... Actually, you know what? We'll make the end one first. And it looks like it's a little shaped here, so we will select these, and we can make it a little bit better. It's still too wide, so let's Control A on our cube to select all and scale it, make it a little more skinnier. And that is good. And as you can see, this is what Glock iron sights look like. Just like this. So we can actually save this to our desktop and go into our front view here. Take that image, or we go to our options, configure, and import that image to our front view. And now we'll line this up. So we're going to change the size, make it way smaller. Now we have our cube here, and we'll make it editable. And now we got the base of our iron sights. Now we need to create this dent here. So to do that, we'll use the knife tool, and we'll create 3 splits, sections, and we're going to move this so that it is parallel. As you can see in our 3D view, we want to take out this middle part basically. So delete the faces basically. Now we will get our bridge tool, select the side, select the edge tool, and bridge our sights back up. And now we have our iron sights. And just to add a little bit more detail, we'll create this white object here, which we can then retexture or make a white material so we can have the nice white outlines for our sights. Knife tool. Boom, boom, and boom. Now I want to delete the faces here. Oh, I forgot to turn on, we need to turn on only select visible elements. And we want to bridge this up with the edge tool. And that's it pretty much. Now we're going to just scale it down because we do not need it that big. And put it in barely. And we'll make the let's make our end sight a little bit bigger. And let's make that white circle thing. So to do that, we'll use a cylinder. And this cylinder we're going to rotate so that it is 90 degrees. And we're going to make it smaller. Make it editable so we can scale it individually. And rotate it to around the angle of the side of this thing. And we'll place it in there. There we go. Alright. Now our gun is completely modeled. So we are going to piece everything together. And to piece it all together, we're going to use some nulls so we can basically group them. So for the slide, we'll select the main part of the slide, then go to our objects, hold Alt, and select the null tool. And this will create a null for the object that we have selected, which is the slide. And everything that will be sliding, which includes everything on it, we want to put in to the same null. And now our slide, oh, we forgot to put that little circle on there too. Right, so we can name that to slide, and we'll make this, the main body, hold Alt. This will be lower body. And that will include the clip, which we can rename and put it in the lower body, and the trigger guard and the trigger. Will also go into lower body. We got the body, the magazine, the trigger guard, and the trigger is all in the lower body. Oh, the tube can also go in the slide, or the tube can go in the lower body so that it doesn't slide. Alright. Now that we have everything sorted, let's place it in to our main gun. No. So we'll move both of these over so that it's not over the axis and we'll put the gun, all of it, into this null, which will be called our Glock. One last thing I forgot to mention is there are these fawn tags, and what these do is they kind of round out sharp edges like this. You can see the faces are kind of rounded out into each other. So we're gonna delete all of these since our gun is low poly. And now you can see that all the faces are just regular, square, and sharp. And you don't have to do this, but that's the way I'm going to do it. Now we can save it. Save the project file in case we need to come back to it. And we will also export it as an FPS for Unity. And that's it. Thanks for watching this, the start of this series on how to make a game in Unity. And I'll see you in the next video.